This is ABC.
Individuals who live there have...
Just ahead on Eyewitness News, a local judge is getting raves over his unusual punishment for men convicted of picking up prostitutes.
A Texas man is charged with making a little boy drink booze until it almost kills him.
And man's best friend takes a bullet to protect her owner from two gunmen. It's all next on Eyewitness News at 11.
First in Ohio, TV5. Live from Ohio's news channel, this is TV5 Eyewitness News with Ted Henry, Wilma Smith, Don Webster with the weather, sports director Nev Chandler, and the Eyewitness News team. Brought to you by Ohio Edison.
Good evening. A municipal court judge is getting a lot of applause tonight
For not sending Johns to jail. Instead, 23 men from the suburbs will be working for the people of the inner city.
The men from communities like Lakewood, Parma, and Mentor were found guilty of soliciting for prostitution today. They were all arrested trying to pick up prostitutes on the Near East Side. As Bill Youngkin now tells us, they will be going back there a lot.
So far, 3rd District Vice detectives have put the cuffs on 124 men who have driven into the city looking for sex here on the Near East Side. And that's just since the middle of January. This vice sergeant says the prostitution problem's been bad.
Children, haven't been able to even walk to school without being stopped by some guy pulling up next to them.
A lot of times, those picked up on solicitation charges get only a slap on the hand, but not this time. For the first 23 who appeared in court today, they have to put in 200 hours of community service work in the inner city. Has a lot of folks talking.
Very happy, yeah. We were elated. All the guys talked about it. They were really very pleased.
Lois Taylor and James Reese are among a number of people who have been pushing for a crackdown on prostitution in their community. They say, finally, police and judges together are sending a message. You want to play, you have to pay.
Oh, definitely. Yes. Because they're going to think twice before their face is shown around in the neighborhood where it don't belong.
The next time those men from the suburbs come into this inner city neighborhood, it won't be to find a prostitute. They have to do 200 hours of community service work. What kind of work? Sweeping the streets, cleaning vacant lots, picking up trash, getting rid of old tires that have been thrown in here. And I'll tell you, 200 hours is a lot of weekends. In fact, when you figure it out, these Johns from the burbs will have to work in the inner city every Saturday and Sunday, every weekend day, for just over 3 months.
The judge said today, if the area is good enough for you to come in and do your dirt, then it's good enough for you to come in and clean it up.
In Cleveland, I'm Bill Youngkin, Eyewitness News.
Those close to the problem see Judge Adrian's decision to sentence the men to community service work in the same area where they were arrested as the beginning of a trend. We are told other Muni Court judges are expected to start handing out the same kind of sentences.
A 5-year-old boy from Dallas, Texas is fighting for his life tonight. He's in a coma brought on after a friend of the boy's mother forced the child to drink too much hard liquor. Police have filed felony assault charges, in fact, against Anthony Jimerson. They say Jimerson repeatedly gave the youngster beer and bourbon to drink. Police say the 5-year-old drank at least half a pint of bourbon and became violently ill and then fell into a coma. An eyewitness told police that Jimerson handed the child a glass of liquor and told him to, quote, drink it like a man.
It is a race to New Zealand as a Washington, D.C. doctor tries to fight for custody of her daughter. Elizabeth Morgan went to court today to ask a judge for the return of her passport. It had been taken away from her when she went to jail for 2 years for refusing to say where her daughter Hillary was. Morgan had sent the girl to New Zealand, claiming Hillary had been abused by her father. The girl's father is in New Zealand now to seek custody of his daughter. He denies his ex-wife's accusations. A Washington, D.C. judge said that he will decide within 2 days whether Elizabeth Morgan can get back her passport. Exxon is vowing to defend itself in court. The giant oil company has been indicted on charges stemming from last year's massive spill off the coast of Alaska by the tanker Exxon Valdez. Exxon could face fines and other penalties nearing $700 million if convicted on all the counts. Attorney General Richard Thornburg said the indictment went to the grand jury after a proposed plea deal fell through. Now, Thornburg says the federal government is sending a strong signal that environmental crimes won't be tolerated.
Well, the coast is now, in fact, clear for Figge International. There is no longer any obstacle to its project that will bring 19,000 new jobs to Greater Cleveland. This long-term lease agreement between Cleveland and the city of Shaker Heights ended the standoff today. As we've told you many times before, Shaker was threatening to block the multi-billion-dollar world headquarters project without a long-term lease of the Shaker Lakes land. Now that the ink is finally dry today, construction can soon begin. A rear-end collision of two rapid cars could be costing two drivers their jobs. As we first showed you here last night on Eyewitness News, one Blue Line car ran smack dab into the other Van Aken and Avalon. This latest incident of trouble on the tracks has two drivers suspended without pay tonight until the investigation into the accident is complete. That investigation included alcohol and drug tests of the motorman and of the conductor in the colliding car. Those test results could be out tomorrow, and if the RTA finds no fault on the part of the drivers, they will be reinstated. And if you're counting, last night's rapid crash is number 5 now for the RTA just since November.
Well, many people see them as a way to keep drunk drivers off the roads. However, to others, they are an invasion of privacy. The issue here is whether police have the right to set up roadside sobriety checkpoints. Today, the Supreme Court heard arguments both for and against the use of the roadblocks. The High Court is expected to issue a ruling by July. And in another case, the justices also ruled that prison officials can decide when to give mentally ill inmates antipsychotic drugs, even if it's against their will.
Man's best friend has once again proved he or she is worthy of that title, especially when the chips are down. Chelsea is a 2-year-old golden retriever that attacked two would-be burglars as they pointed their guns at her owners. Chelsea was shot once in the shoulder as she lunged at the gunman. Luckily, the wound was not at all fatal, but the vet waited 2 long weeks for Chelsea to rebuild her strength before finally operating on her. The surgery was a complete success, the bullet removed, and today, well, you can see for yourself, Chelsea has bounced right back, licking her owners' faces, wagging her tail, and showing off her scar. Like the champ she is.
Oh, yeah. What a good girl.
She
All right.
deserves a medal.
She sure does. And she's getting that with rewards and pats from
lots of affirmation.
Yeah. Well, it's time now to get the first word on the weather forecast for this, now just about the middle of the week.
And for that, we turn to Don Webster in First Weather. What's it going to be, Don?
Well, tonight is going to be a little bit on the chilly side, Ted, but nevertheless, no big storms in sight, thank goodness. Let's have a look at a few numbers. It's 37 degrees outside in Cleveland right now. Kind of a quiet, still night. Not too much is happening, and that in itself is good news. Our high today was well above normal, 43. Our low last night was 28. We'll be colder than that tonight because a cold front has now passed through the area. We'll be down to 20, and kind of a cold day tomorrow, but I have just a great forecast coming up for the next few days leading into the weekend. You'll love it. We'll check it in a few minutes.
We sure will. We're not going to pass that one up, are we?
Let's hear it soon.
Yeah. Well, it's a signed and sealed peace treaty between the Cleveland School Board and its president.
However, at what particular price for peace? Details coming up next as Eyewitness News continues.
And what tops in compact cars? That answer from Consumer Reports when we come back.
The settlement signaling the end of the struggle between the school board and the superintendent is signed and sealed.
But the two sides are still arguing over how much the settlement will cost the Cleveland School Board.
School board president Stanley Tolliver says the lawsuit is finally over, but the board won't be paying over $500,000 in legal fees for both sides after all. Avery Friedman, the superintendent's lawyer, has to submit his expenses to the board's attorneys for approval, and if they contest the cost at all, the issue will then be settled by impartial attorneys.
Superintendent Al Tutela filed that lawsuit in response to a gag order slapped on him by the school board. And even though the board settled, Tutela is not collecting any damages. On Live on 5 today, the superintendent told me collecting damages is really not important.
Opportunities for students. I've never really wanted them. They were never an issue. The issue was that there are 16,000 superintendents, millions of public employees. Can a public body deny public employees free speech?
Tutela also says that he teaches his children, as he does all children in Cleveland, that the Constitution protects your rights, and his victory is a tangible reminder of that.
Are you thinking at all about buying a new car? Chances are you're considering a compact car, but what should you look for besides good gas mileage? Lee Jordan shows you now in tonight's Consumer Reports segment.
Among compact cars, Consumer Reports has rated the Honda Accord and the Toyota Camry as two of the best performing and most reliable cars on the road. But both are getting a run for their money from some new 1990 competitors. Consumer Reports tested the new Accord and Camry against the Subaru Legacy, the Nissan Stanza, and the Pontiac Grand Am. Here are some of the results. At first glance, it's hard to tell them apart. They look alike. They all get good mileage. All have multi-valve engines. They cost between $14,000 and $17,000. And at Consumer Reports Auto Test Track, all five performed well in the avoidance maneuver test. The Accord flew through the course at record speed without hitting the cones. Its brakes were first-rate and its handling excellent. The Stanza did nearly as well as the Accord on those measures, with the Camry and Subaru just a shade behind. The Pontiac Grand Am responded well in the accident avoidance test, but overall, Consumer Reports concluded that it is a cut below the four Japanese models. As for safety equipment, automatic shoulder belts, manual lap belts, and knee bars are standard in the four imports. Not in the Pontiac, and there are other drawbacks in the Grand Am. Its automatic safety belts make the doors difficult to open. They don't move far enough out of the way and get tangled in your legs. How compact are these compacts? Testers consider the back seat of the Honda and the Nissan reasonable for 3 passengers. The Toyota, a bit snug. The Subaru, a tight squeeze. And the Pontiac, an unfriendly place. Overall, Consumer Reports gave high marks to this group of compacts, with the highest marks, by a whisker, to the Honda Accord. Consumer Reports has created what it calls a trouble index to measure reliability. Both the Honda and Toyota are renowned for their reliability, and the trouble index shows the Nissan is also excellent. The Subaru Legacy is new, however, so there's no record, though other Subarus have been excellent. And as for the Pontiac, it shows a worse than average to average record. The fuel efficiency numbers range from an average of 21 miles per gallon for the Nissan to an impressive 27 miles per gallon for the Toyota. Lee Jordan, Eyewitness News.
Consumer Reports can be seen here every Tuesday and Wednesday at 11 o'clock on Eyewitness News.
And just ahead on Eyewitness News, Don has full details of the weather forecast that's coming up.
And later, as Eyewitness News continues, in sports, we're going to have the results of our telepoll question tonight.
And that is, who do you side with in the baseball dispute? Now, if you side with the owners on this one, call 578-0300. If you support the players, call 578-0301. And if you say neither side, dial 578-0302. Bob Stevens will have results in sports.
Driving back from dinner tonight, Don, I couldn't help but notice that the spring, late winter heat wave has already begun. Snow melting around us, and it was warm. Warmer.
Well, yes, but it's going to be a little bit colder again tonight, so it's not going to last, Ted, unfortunately. And this cool weather will last through tonight and tomorrow, and then it'll start to warm up. But it will start to warm up, okay? Let's have a look at our numbers now and find out what we had. And this is it for today. 43 degrees. Our low last night was 28. Normals for this date, 38 and 23. Last year, 30 the high, 26 the low. Record high was 64, set in 1976, and the record low was 10 below, set in 1963. In Cleveland now, 37. Humidity is 70%. Barometer 30.44. Winds out of the northwest now light at 7 miles an hour. And around we go now to our computer and have a look at what is happening. And around the state, it's cooling off. Poor old Toledo is really cold. They're down at 31 degrees, below freezing. Findlay, very close at 32. Mansfield, 33. Heat wave here, 37 degrees. Akron and Canton is 34. And as we move downstate, it moves into the middle to upper 30s and even into the 40s. And now, let's check our cloud cover around the state and see what we have. And over the state of Ohio, quite a bit of cloud cover. Over there in Toledo, it's cleared out. That's probably the reason that they are lower as far as the temperature is concerned, because they have got no protective cloud cover, and the little bit of heat that they accumulated today is being radiated away. Now, around the state, this is what we have. Not much cloud cover over the eastern section of the country. What we do have is partially covering Ohio and is moving away to the east quite rapidly. However, out west, a lot of cloud cover there. Big storm system, lots of snow and rain. But fortunately, it's all going to be staying right there because we have high pressure around the top third of the country, and it's going to be all drifting to the east, and that means good weather for us ahead. Now, this is the way we are right now. By tomorrow, this is what we will have. You can see that the high pressure ridge will have moved off to the east so that we will have that over Ohio directly, and that means a bright, clear day. Also a cold day, but lots of sunshine around, and all the snow and the rain will stay down in the Rocky Mountain areas, the Central Rockies, Southern Rockies, into particularly the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma Panhandle, expecting bad weather tonight and tomorrow, and then that'll slide across the country, but will stay to the south of us. We don't have to worry about it at all, thank goodness. Keep your fingers crossed that nothing changes and that everything stays right on that line. The way the jet stream is moving, it looks okay for the next few days. If you're going to be doing a little bit of traveling, this is what we have for tomorrow. Off to the East Coast, temperatures in the 30s, and around our area in the 30s also. Moving downstate into the 40s. Down south, 60s and 70s, no 80s to report tomorrow. And out to the southwest, 70s and 60s up through the central and northern sections of California. Nothing too cold throughout the central sections of the country. All looks well, with the exception of that area in Texas and Oklahoma, and moving over into Missouri and Arkansas. They'll have some bad weather there, but it's far enough away that it will not be affecting us. What will affect us? This will. Let's have a look at our forecast now for the next 5 days. For tonight, partly cloudy. Winds out of the northwest at 5 to 15. The low tonight, 20 degrees. It'll be a cold one. And then tomorrow, clearing skies, winds out of the northwest at 10 to 15, still cool, below normal, a high of 33, and the sun will rise at 7:04 tomorrow morning. Then tomorrow night, clear skies, another cold one, low of 18 degrees, and good news ahead, friends. This is what's going to happen for the rest of the week. For Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the little guys with sunglasses, and that means lots of sunshine and warming temperatures. 33 tomorrow, and a gradual warming trend throughout the week. 35 on Thursday, 42 on Friday, 44 on Saturday, up to 45 on Sunday, and the overnight lows gradually warming too as we go along. As you get up and go to work in the morning, not a bad day at all. Partly cloudy skies at 8 o'clock and 25 degrees. Do you know what day it is today? It is Fat Tuesday today.
And which is, of course, a day Nev always takes off.
Oh, that's right, because it's the day that you go out and gorge yourself before Lent, right?
I think we will say nothing more, but move along from there.
And Bob Stevens is here with sports.
Cavs searching for a road win. Browns searching for some offensive line help. We'll be back with all that and more in a moment. You've probably been sent on some wacky business trips before, but the one the Cavs began tonight out west is one for the Travel Agent Hall of Fame. Although I think my baggage once made this trip once, all the way out to Portland, and then to Denver, and then L.A., and then Phoenix, and Seattle, and Oakland, and back to Milwaukee. This is Tuesday, so it must be Portland. And as beautiful as Portland is, it can be an ugly place to play, especially with Clyde Drexler healthy again. He missed the Cleveland game here last week, but nobody missing for the Blazers tonight. It is early, but it is ugly. Cavs down by a dozen in the second quarter, and in fact, it really hasn't been that close most of the way. Good night for the home teams in the NBA. Indiana beating New Jersey by 5. Detroit over Houston in OT. Isaiah and Akeem each with 37. The Knicks beat Dallas, and Chicago by 10 over Milwaukee. Baseball taking another step backward today, trying to settle its labor dispute. Over 100 players met in Phoenix with union boss Donald Fear, and they came out more solidly than ever against changing arbitration rules. Now, you know, one of the kids that'll be affected by the arbitration argument just wants to play ball. The Indians' Joey Bell, trying to keep in shape down in Shreveport, Louisiana. He knows that every day he stays home is a day closer to going back to the minors.
If I have a good spring training, you know, I'm going to have a good chance of making the club. But if I have a bad spring training, you know, I'm going to be sent down to AAA. And as far as right now, you know, I'm not having any spring training, so that's going to hurt even more.
Are you as fed up with all this stuff as Joey and I are? Well, all day long you've had the chance to take sides in our telepoll. Over 7,100 callers today. The clear majority of you taking the side of, hey, let's play ball. 53%. 14% for the players, 32% for the owners, but I'm with you guys. Let's play ball. The only lockout the Browns need to worry about is being locked out of the kitchen on the banquet circuit. Tonight out in Fairview Park, the annual American Legion Pro of the Year dinner honoring Big Daddy Carl Hairston. Part of a strong defensive line, of course, but it's fixing the O-line that's getting the attention from the Plan B planners.
The obvious people are Montoya, and it looks like he's going back home to the Raiders in Los Angeles. But the other real experienced people out there are pretty well tied up. We think Doug Smith has made a deal with with the people in Los Angeles, and he's not going anywhere. He's an all-pro center, but there were a couple all-pros out there in Plan B, and we were hoping to get one or two of them.
Doesn't look like they will, though. Also today, Rod Rust followed the Bud Carson road to head coaching job. Patience, 14 years as an assistant. Rust today named the new boss in New England, replacing Raymond Berry. Finally, last night, we told you about a high school team learning what real life is all about. The Chagrin Falls Tigers, 0-20. But tonight, the playoffs began and a chance for redemption. But Hawkins Hawks were having none of any of this. Len Spacek with the three-pointer off the wing led the Hawks tonight with 24 points. The Tigers, like they have all year, even though they haven't won a game, clawing back. Jeff Stinson finishing off the fast break, but it was way too little. Hawken advancing on a John Polis jumper as Hawken wins the ball game easily. Now, to the rest of the playoff scores after we show you another #1 knocked off in Norman.